All right, so let's talk about grouping symbols. If an equation contains grouping symbols such as parentheses or brackets, use a distributive property first to remove the grouping symbols. So for example, if I have this crazy looking equation right here, 6 times the quantity 5m minus 3 equals 1/3 times the quantity 24m plus 12, I would have to use the distributive property. So you want to distribute the 6 into the parentheses, so 6 times 5, 6 times 3. So they'll be giving you 30m minus 18. Now here, distribute the 1/3. What's 1/3 of 24? 8. 1/3 of 12? 4. And now we're to an equation with variables on both sides, so you just follow the steps that we did in the previous video. You want to get your m's on one side and your constants on the other. So first thing, you want to subtract 8m from both sides. You get 22m minus 18 equals -4. Then you add 18 to both sides, and you'd have 22m equals 22. Divide by 22, and you get m equals 1. All right, make sure to check your solution. If you plugged 1 back in here, you'd have 5 times 1 is 5, minus 3 is 2, 2 times 6 would be 12. If I put 1 in here, you'd have 24 plus 12 is 36, and 1/3 of 36 is 12. You get 12 on both sides. Okie doke. All right, here's a couple for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your answer. All right, we're back. So in 2A, I'm going to rewrite this with X's, because whenever I write a 5 with my stylus on an iPad, they start to look like 5s. Okay, so distribute, and you would get 18 minus 6x. Here I would add 6x to both sides, and you'd have 14x minus 10 equals 18. Those cancel. And you'd add 10 to both sides as well. You have 14x equals 28. Divide by 14, and you get x equals 2. Okay? All right. Next one, you want to distribute the 7 and the -2. So it'd be 7n minus 7 equals -6. Okay? And then it'd be minus 2n. Alrighty? So here I'd add 2n to both sides. You'd have 9n minus 7 equals -6. Then you would add 7 to both sides. Okay, now here you have -6 plus 7. You're adding numbers with opposite signs, so you subtract the number, keep the sign of the larger. So that would be 1 equals 9n. Now be careful here. The most common mistake I see when I have students that are dividing 1 by a number is they would write the answer as 9. But 1 divided by 9 is not 9, it's 1/9. So n equals 1/9. Just be careful of that. Now if it was 9 divided by 1, the answer would be 9. Just beware. Okay, some equations may have no solution, and that is there's no value of the variable that will result in a true equation. And some equations are true no matter what values you plug in. Those are called identities. So I'm going to do a couple examples here and show you what happens and how you know if your equation is in fact an identity or if your equation has no solution. So solve the equation here. First, I would distribute the 3. So you get 15x minus 12. Then you want to combine like terms on the right side. Okay? Because you have x's, you have 2 terms with x's on one side, so you put those together first. You're not going to add or subtract them to the other side. So 15x minus 10x combines to 5x. All right? Now you want to subtract 5x from both sides, and you'll see something weird happens. They all cancel, right? So 5x minus 5x just cancels, and 5x minus 5x cancels, and you have 5 equals -12. Notice 2 things. One, the variables canceled. All the variables did. There's no x's, no variables left in the equation. And the stuff that's left is actually not equal. 5 is not equal to negative 12. And if you look at the step before, basically what you're saying is you want to take a number, multiply it by 5, and then add 5 to it, and try to find what number is going to be equal to that whenever you do the same number times 5 and subtract 12. Well, if you take a number, multiply it by 5, and then add 5, you're never going to get the same answer as if you subtracted 12. So this is an example of an equation that has no solution. All right, so the two things that happened, the variables all canceled, and what was left is actually not equal, so which is a false statement. And if you get a false statement, that means there's no solution. So let's try this one. First, we want to distribute the 3. Now notice I'm not going to distribute it to the negative 7 because the 3 is only distributed to what's in the parentheses. So you're going to get 6b minus 3 minus 7. And then you combine these like terms, negative 3 minus 7, which will give you negative 10. Now you subtract 6b from both sides. And you could add, actually that should be negative 10 equals negative 10. Now, if I subtract 6b from both sides, I forgot to put that in there as too, subtract 6b. If you subtract 6b from both sides, all the variables cancel, but look what happens. This time you get negative 10 equals negative 10. Now that is a true statement. Now, since the variables canceled and what was left is actually true, is actually equal, that means both equations are the same thing, or both sides of the equation are the same thing. Notice here, you're going to, at this last step here before I got rid of the variables, you multiply by 6 and add 10. No matter what number you put in, if you multiply by 6 and subtract 10 rather, and then on the other side you multiply by 6 and subtract 10, you're going to get the same answer no matter what you get, no matter what you put in, same answer on both sides. So this equation is true for all values of b, and therefore, oops, went too far, we call this an identity. Okay, so the two things you want to look for whenever there's no solution or an identity. And an identity really means the solutions are all real numbers. Any number you pick, it's going to work. Two things you look for. One, if you're solving an equation and all the variables cancel, that's the only way that you can get no solution or an identity with all real numbers. Okay. Then how to determine which one is which is whenever the variables cancel, what you're left with is either going to be a true statement or a false statement. If it's a true statement, then that means it's an identity in all real numbers. And if it's a false statement, like one number that's set equal to a number that's it's not equal to, then you have no solution. All right. Okay, here's a couple for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video and hit play when you're ready. All right, we're back. So the first one, I'm going to distribute the 5. So it's 7x plus 5x minus 5 equals negative 5 plus 12x. Combine these like terms. So that's going to be 12x minus 5 equals negative 5 plus 12x. Okay, then subtract 12x from both sides. Those cancel. And you have negative 5 equals negative 5, which is true. So this is an identity. And the solutions are all real numbers. Okay? All right, so what's the other one probably going to be? Well, it's probably going to be a no solution one, but let's see how it happens. Distribute the 6, so you have 6y minus 30 equals, distribute the 10, 20 plus 6y. Now you subtract 6 from both sides, or excuse me, you would subtract 6y from both sides, and you'd have negative 30 equals 20. That is false. So no matter what number you plug in, okay, so the variable's canceled, and so no matter what number you plug in, doesn't matter, it's never going to work. So this is no solution. All right. All right. So here's the steps for solving an equation. First, simplify the expression on each side. Use the distributive property if you need to. Then use the addition or subtraction property of equality to get your variables on one side and your numbers without variables on the other. Those are called constants. And then use the multiplication or division property of equality to solve. Be careful, if the variables cancel out, then you either have no solution or all real numbers, depending on if you get a true statement or a false statement. There are many situations in which you must simplify expressions with grouping symbols in order to solve an equation. So here's an example. Find the value of x so that the figures have the same area. Now notice one's looks like a square, might be, we don't know the value of x, and the other one is a rectangle. Okay, so the area of the first rectangle, they want to have the same area. Here's how you got to think about it. The area of, we'll call this one A, has to be the same as area of equal B. Well, how do you get area of a rectangle? Multiply length times width. So 10x would be the area of this one, and B would be 6 times this side. Now, this might look a little bit weird, but how they broke it up was saying that this much of it takes up x, and then this is 3 more than x. Okay, so it's actually going to be 6 times x plus 3, or 6 times 3 plus x, as I wrote it down here. Okay, so what you want to do is set those equal to each other and then try to solve for x, because this represents the area of rectangle A, and this represents the area of rectangle B. I want them to be the same, so I set them equal to each other. Remember, same area, that's a phrase that indicates equality, so you want to set them equal. Then, oops, let me back up here. Went too far. So you want to have 10x equals, distribute the 6, 18 plus 6x, then subtract the 6, and you'd have 4x equals 18, divide by 4, and you have x equals 9 halves, which is 4.5, which corresponds with answer B. Now, in this case, I do convert the fraction to a decimal because it's a multiple choice problem and my answers are given in decimal terms, not fractions. Okay? All right, here's one for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video and hit play when you're ready. All right, we're back. So I want to find the value of x so the areas have the same perimeter. Now, you got to be careful here because it says perimeter. How do you get perimeter? Well, perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So that's the perimeter of this one. So I have to set that equal to 2 times the length, so 2 times x, plus 2 times the width, which is 2x plus 2. Make sure you put the whole thing, everything in parentheses. So here I'd have 12 plus 2x equals 2x plus 4x plus 4. Gotta distribute the 2 here. So rewriting that, I have 12 plus 2x equals 6x. Got to combine these like terms, plus 4. Then I would subtract 2x from both sides. If you subtracted 6x from both sides, that's fine. It's not going to be wrong to do that. So that would be 4x plus 4. Then subtract 4 from both sides, and you'd have 8 equals 4x. Divide by 4. Sorry, it's starting to look a little squooshed there. And you'd have x equals 2. All right. All right, so when x is 2, these rectangles have the same perimeter. Okay? All right. All right, guys, that's it for this section. Please continue on to your assignments. And as always, reach out to me if you have any questions, and make it a great day. Take care.